Hello everyone. Today we are discussing something related to agile transformation, and we have a participant who is sharing her case study. And I think that will help all of us to figure out what probably we can do when we stuck into the similar situation. Okay, so please help us to understand the current context, and probably we can find out something based on that.
Okay, so Saket, I really appreciate your time, first of all. And the basic scenario, what I wanted to really bring it up is that we have a brand new team, and we've been like working traditionally, which is the agile waterfall, completely waterfall methodology, and we are shifting our gears from waterfall to agile. And the assignment or the new initiative, what we wanted to start is, let's just take an example that we are starting one of the ERP program. And based on that, I really wanted to start that new initiatives based on the approach called jobs to be done. And I would say the minimum 45 to 50 resources. So the real work we have to move forward is how we going to organize the entire team, especially when we shifting our approach from the waterfall to the agile. And in a even a broader sense, or even an advanced sense, I will say that maybe a safe, like a scaled agile framework. So that's something I'm really trying to lay out, that any firm is moving from the traditional to the like more current methodology of
Sure.
STL. How should we move forward?
Okay. So see, correct me. I'm just interpreting your scenario. So what I feel is that you are working on a large application. There are 45 to 50 people, and right now they have a group which tells them the requirement, and then requirement get analyzed, and all 45 people get some tasks. So there is a common management which gives work to all those 45 people, and
Mhm.
after a while it get integrated and it goes to a testing, and this is probably the current flow of working.
Sure.
Yeah. And
That is correct.
yeah, probably you're looking for that, can we get something done on a faster pace? So rather than it takes 5 6 months before everybody understands the requirement, it get distributed to all 45 people, and then they do their part of work, and then we do an integration. A lot of things get miscommunicated because everybody works on their own perception, and there is no inspect and adapt process made in between. So you have a
Mhm.
more variances towards the end.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you want to remove that ambiguity and bring more transparency and collaboration in the working style of people.
That is correct. And that another thing is, like, we can definitely, based on the agile or the scaled agile framework, we can move faster, so we can reach to our overall roadmap or the milestone what we have laid out with the management or the stakeholders, that we can actually follow through
Sure.
more closer than the other methodology. Yes.
Yeah. So the idea, we are still spending time understanding the current case and the desired case. We are not yet into the solutioning part. So
Mhm.
the idea of agile is not necessarily finishing the whole roadmap on a faster pace. It may take little longer time than the traditional approaches. The idea
Mhm.
is that you start delivering at a faster pace. So which means that if you are thinking of 100 things to be done in the part of your roadmap for that particular application, the high priority things which starts getting things done at your customer level, at your stakeholder levels, maybe only of 20 or 30 things out of those 100. So those 20 and 30 things gets done faster because you are working in iterative and incremental way. So you are not planning all 100 and then realizing it is taking more time. Rather, you are planning small chunk of it and doing it and taking feedback for it. Now, when all 100 will get done, it might take a little more time because you are taking feedbacks in between and you are fine tuning your path. So there is no clarity of overall team time thing. But yes, you get a faster delivery. The advantage is you may realize after doing 30, 50 features that remaining 50 are not needed at all because they hardly add any value. And that is why organizations are moving towards agility based approaches.
Sure. Sure.
So we are common till here, like we have a common understanding. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. That's where we are heading. Correct.
Great. Now, then the problem comes in, okay, how to do it. So we do have a clarity what we want to do. Then the second thing is, okay, how should we proceed? Now, there are various alternatives. You can see how do you transform, how do you organize people, and how do you really start implementing things. In general, most of the people who prefer who are into a transformation business, they first quantify the current problems. So in a way, if I am pitching up a case to my management and asking them to move from one way of doing to another way of doing, I
Mhm.
might quantify my current problem by way, there are some of the possible measures is, okay, it takes 6 months for a small feature to get done. We have been facing this much percentage of rework because of communication gaps among the development team. So we, rather than the organization just say that, okay, let's go to agile because everybody's doing it, it is recommended that we convert the conversation into that, okay, we have these 10 problems and we want to solve these 10 problems using an approach which helps us implementing some of the agile ideas and
Mhm.
helps us in resolving some problems. So yeah.
Okay. Mhm.
So does this make sense? Like, is it possible in your context to quantify the problems and write down, okay, these are our current challenges and this is what we want to overcome to.
That is correct. That is correct. And now the real challenge is that how we going to formalize those 50 people's or 45 people's team, particular on the given directions of the requirement. And then I believe that in Agile, we're going to break them down into the right amount of the chunk or the the amount of task.
Sure.
We can, yeah.
Now, see, now the approach is pretty simple. It is something like you do have a common planning approach for. So, the most of the agile frameworks, I'm using the word most, not all, works in under the idea of forming small teams who work together, and they are formed in a small fashion so that they can collaborate and talk with ease inside the team, and then
Mhm.
you have a mechanism of talking other teams. So if I'm looking at 45 team members, I may divide them into 5 teams. So you may
Okay.
have a 5 teams where the size of a teams varies from 3 to 9 people, and they are skilled enough to pick part of the functionality and deliver it.
Mhm.
So we usually call them cross-functional team. What does it mean is that the team itself has all the things which is required to be there in order to finish the requirement into a running software, a part of a running software. So in a language they call it from backlog to done. So a cross-functional team should be able to pick up the requirement from the backlog, and on their own they should be able to mark it as a done feature. Now, this looks pretty simple, like, okay, that's a very simple idea. But when you start doing it, there are many challenges. Challenges like that, how these 45 people are skilled. Now, can you really have 5 cross-functional team? Or there could be a situation where you have 2 team members and they are expected to do the work which is needed for all the 5 teams. So
Mhm.
how do you handle that? Say you may have some like database related work or some user interface related work, and you don't have 5 skilled individuals to get distributed into all the 5 teams.
Mhm.
So that's the one possible challenge. The another possible challenge which you need to see when you divide your 5 team is how independently they can do the job. Now, it also depends upon what type of individuals you have and what kind of the background they have been in following. Say, is it possible that you can create team based on your functionality area? So if we take an application ERP example, oh, there could be a finance team, there could be a inventory team, there could be a purchase team, and they work on those kind of features. But then the challenge could come is that, okay, we don't have a sufficient work for purchase. We have a lot of work for finance.
Mhm.
So how do we do that? So there is no perfect answer to it. The best answer is that based on the type of work and interaction with the team members, that, okay, what do you think can help us in achieving close collaboration inside the team and less interdependency among each other, and that's the goal. Now, based on that goal, we create the team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So any comment or question till here?
I think this is definitely I'm following what you're saying. The only question I had about, the skill, like how you recognize each people, right? So let's say if I do not have, um, I have a person who does have a skill in SAP, but like there could be some other skill which is mandatory. And if I don't have it in my team or the available resources, should I look for outside of the like a firm, or what, how are you going to do in that scenario?
Yeah. So now the challenge would be, assuming you get into a situation that you have a particular area which only two people are aware of, and that area is expected to be done for all the four teams or five teams.
Mm-hmm.
Then it starts increasing complexities. That's the first thing. Now, what means, then you need to have a dependency management there. So you may make these two people as a shared people, or they may work as a separate team, but other teams are dependent on them. So it's like that they are becoming a service provider.
Mm-hmm.
So other people put their request, and then you need to manage how these requests are getting taken care and getting delivered. In a very simplistic and ideal word, agile consultant will recommend, okay, make your other team members cross skills and make them learn all those skills which are needed, which is definitely a great idea, but in many cases may not be a practical idea, at least for short term. It's not that easy to just make someone learn some specialized skill, which the other one has it, because that's why he exists.
Agree.
So yeah, so that kind of a challenges starts coming in. And in agile world, we talk about feature teams and component teams for that. So if you are just going through some literature and all, so feature team is a team out of these 45 people. So you assume you create five teams. I would say a feature team to a given team, which is of a 3 to 9 people, or I say this team is a feature team if they can do complete feature work on their own without any dependency.
Okay.
I would say a component team, like you were talking about, where they don't do anything which is customer centric, but they create some components which get used in multiple features. So component team is something, they are more like a provider to feature teams many times.
Mm-hmm.
So it also depends upon the type of, like the way your application is designed. So many times the applications are designed in the component mode. You have collection of APIs, and there are people who take care of those APIs, and then you have a collection of features, and somebody takes care of those features.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something, is a brainstorming which you might need to do based on the architecture of application, based on the skill of people, and you need to understand from those team members that what best suits them. The idea is pretty simple. How do we move forward with less interdependencies and ensure alignment? How should we organize ourselves in five teams, like who joins which team, what is the theme of a given team, what is the goal of a given team. So if I have a five teams, how do I label them?
Right.
And when I label them, how do I distribute people according to those label, and
Mm-hmm.
how this labeling is helping me in achieving close coordination inside the team, and not that much interdependency among different teams.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so this is the thing, first is that, rest is just once this gets done well, and you can change it, or you can inspect and adapt for a month or two, and see how things are going, and then you can take it forward. So once this part is done, I would say this is the real thing. Then you need to start thinking about, how do I do planning and how do I do inspect and adapt. So in a way, how do I review my things?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
these are the only two things left after organizing people. Now, another thing which you may want to consider in organizing people is that, do you see a uses of some common people among these five teams? So in safe word, we talk about program management team. In some other frameworks, it is called integration team, or something. So the idea is, there may be a need of a role who
Mm-hmm.
ensures common directions. Yeah.
Okay.
So it could be that one of the scrum master or a manager, whatever term you use, of one team plays that role. So it may happen that out of 5 team, one team is like a head team and other teams are tail teams, something like that. So that's a possibility. And head team is the one who is looking forward and taking everybody together. That's the one possibility. Assuming you don't have a head team, everybody is similarly organized, then you may possibly look for someone who facilitate directional work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So many frameworks talks about having some kind of a program management role or a senior scrum master role, who is facilitating all the 5 teams to stay together, focus together, and identify how they should be going forward. So you may have a role for alignment purpose, who is facilitating various multi-team events. So you can call them senior scrum master or a program manager. You
So
may
are
have
maybe
yeah. If you use a safe terminology, then definitely it's a release train engineer. Uh, Similarly, if you see a need of uh, now that's a thing. Now in a 5-team space, there is a possibility you can keep one product owner and who is giving requirement and prioritization at a prioritization requirement level to all 5 teams. There is a possibility you can have a single product owner, and you
Mhm.
may have teams helping the product owners to elaborate the requirement. So he primarily focuses on what is needed.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you work in that environment, then you have a product owner, and then maybe a team might have some skills. You may call them business analysis skills or some skills where they elaborate the requirement further and work it out in detail. So that's the one possibility. If you
That-
follow a safe structure, then they recommend that, okay, better you have a designated product owner in each team, but you can have a sharing, like one product owner might be taking care of 2 teams, but you have a designated person who is team person, and then you have a product management role who is like the real directional setter for all the 5 teams put together. So whichever way, the intent remains the same, that you have someone who is looking from from an external perspective to the requirement. So that someone who is talking to the stakeholders, and when the stakeholder talk to that guy, they don't consider him a 5-person guy or a 10-person guy, they consider him a 50 people guy. So when I give you a requirement, I don't want to think that which team will do it. I'm giving you the requirement considering you are the ERP guy. Yeah. So
Mhm.
that person becomes a product manager, if you want to use safe terminology. And then this guy may not have a time and energy to speak to each and every 50 developers and explain what they have to do. Then this guy work with his extension people who are skilled in business analysis and system analysis domain, and he gives them some set of requirement, and they are the one which make them in a smaller chunk, and they are the one who works with the end users, so and developers.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so depending, now there is, I would say, if you are using even if you are using safe, it depends. Maybe a product management role can be played by one product owner of a team, and you may have a 2-3 people team who is doing all this job. And
So
yeah.
let me change it a little bit. So our situation right now is that in our company, most of times project managers or the program managers does not have the health of the program, and that's one of the major complaints our senior manager is telling, that we all always have to go to the business and find out that where exactly we stand. So that's something we really trying to knock down through this safe framework what we are trying to establish. So in this case, maybe I would say we're not going to rely on like a product owner who going to tell that what exactly. So I believe what you just explained to me, that maybe one of the hate tail, like sorry, one of the hate team, what you mentioned, that the one team will be just taking all the key ownership. So maybe that team or one of the member of that team maybe take that responsibility and make sure of those coordination. Or in other word, maybe we can say the RTE, release train engineer, can take this responsibility just to make sure that or they are the one who escalate, arrange all those impediments coming across throughout this kinds of journey.
Sure.
So that's something I wanted to just make you aware, that that product owner should be more like focus more on like giving a requirement and prioritize
Perfect.
particularly our organization at this moment.
Yeah. So that's the point. Now there are two kind of a coordination as you brought forward. One is a interdependency, alignment, resolving problem. So that's a one kind of a directional, which is a release train engineer job. The another one is prioritizing the requirements, prioritizing the feature which customers are giving to the team. Now that part is a product management part. So your business giving 100 requirements, but which requirement should go next?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is something which is one person looking at. Now, once you pick up that particular next requirement, that next requirement need to be elaborated well to the development team so that they can deliver it. So there could be a two roles, one role or a two level of work. One level of work is that you are talking to external people, external to these 45 team members, and identifying what really matters and convincing them, helping stakeholder agree to that this really matters next. Yeah, so that's a product management job. And once that is clear, then the next job comes in explaining and working with the development team, breaking them into a small executable stuff, writing acceptance criteria, and getting them done in a way which satisfies the customer needs. So now if this job can be done by the one person, then that's a one option. Another option could be that you say, okay, we may need to have the second job supported by few more guys. So the first job talking to external guy is done by a one guy, and then you have a 2-3 people who are working closely with the team, and this guy is responsible to ensuring that these people are aligned as far the requirement is concerned. Yeah, so this is how the PO and PM role of SAFe is visualized. Now, in a 4-5 teams, since you may use part of a SAFe, it is also possible that you have a one guy doing all this job. Talking to external also and talking to internal also. If that makes sense. It also depends on the product. You may have a guy who only understands finance part of application, and may not understand the purchase and inventory part of that application. If that has the roles, then it says, okay, I understand this part only, but for rest I need someone. So dependent on the type of problem you are solving, but you need to have that kind of role.
Okay, so I think I am getting a little bit more clarity based on what you're explaining. So I would say that if I reiterate quickly, it's more about you trying to say that, first of all, we really have to look at that part of the feature perspective and the component perspective. We need to break that down, those two teams. And then the other way, we can also do the head and tail, where there are like out of 45, let's say we divide them into 5 like those 5 people, including scrum master, product owner, developers, tester, and let's say 2 tester. So there are each team of those 5 team, but out of 5 team, the one team could be the head team, who actually going to be taking all this kind of on their shoulder and running through this. Also, there is a one person called RTE, or who could be a program manager, could be playing a multiple role, and we call it out them as a release train engineer, who will be facilitating, also helping out and coordinating with the head team, right? If I understood correctly, that's how we should broke this down into this 45 team organization, if we move shifting from a waterfall to the SAFe.
Yeah,
Make sense?
that makes sense, and that's the one possibility. And if you see that there is no possibility of one team leading the effort, then you may have all teams standing at the same level, but the release train engineer and the product management people help them to coordinate and take the direction forward. So
Got
then the release train engineer is responsible for doing multiple team events, and helping them to find out where they stand and how they move forward from there.
It's more about like definition of done, make sure that it's everything is moving in the right direction,
Yeah,
something
so
is right.
creating an alignment. So this part we just explored. How do we organize people? And it may look theoretically very simple, but this is the challenging part. And a lot of input from the people who are doing the job is needed, because they understand where they get stuck, they understand what kind of skills are needed. So if I am the one who is facilitating this, my job would be just facilitating the conversation among these people, maybe all 45 people putting together in a one group, or having some mechanism to figure out, okay, how we should organize ourselves so that we remain independent and we can collaborate as well. So a small teams remains good independent, and then
Mhm.
they have a mechanism to collaborate. Now once that is done, then we jump to, okay, how do we do the planning and how do we do the execution and monitoring and inspection and adaptation and delivering incrementally.
Mhm.
So for that, the process is pretty simple. You can talk about SAFe or you can talk about something your own. The process talks about there should be some common meeting where all these 45 people talk and figure out what should we do next.
Mhm.
So if for an example, I take a SAFe example, and then you can modify it because your problem may require your own on process. The SAFe will say that, okay, periodically, by default, we can take 10 weeks time. Periodically, we all come together, all 45 people come together and spend 2 days together to find out what should we do in next 10 weeks. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this 10 weeks could be 8 weeks, could be 12 weeks, depending upon how easy and how difficult the planning or a forecasting is for you. So if you feel forecasting for 2 month work is too much, then you may reduce that duration. If you feel it is too less, then you may increase that duration. But from a scaled agile perspective, the recommendation is 8 to 12 weeks. But as I said, you need to figure that out. So we take a default case. He says, okay, they call it program planning meeting, program increment planning meeting. So it is more like it works on a 2 cycles. So everybody comes together and they spend around 2 days together to find out detailed plan what they are expected to do in next 4 sprints of 2 weeks, and then we have another 2 weeks of planning process. So you can say in a generic agile, when the SAFe and other things were not talking, this meeting was called release planning meeting. So it was the generic agile used to tell, okay, we have a release and we have a sprints or iterations. So in a release is little bit longer duration work. So people come together and they plan for 2 months or 3 months what we are going to do. So everybody has a clarity of roadmap, dependency get identified, estimation gets done, forecasting to the stakeholder gets done. Now once that is done, then people come to their home, means home area, their sprints and all, and they maintain their own working process using sprints. So
Yeah.
I plan for 10 weeks, then I come in my team area and then I work for 2 weeks in my own sprint. So I plan a detailed plan for 2 weeks. That plan was not that much detail. It was not at task level. It was more on a requirement level. When I come to my detailed planning for 2 weeks, I do a detailed task level planning because I really want to get it done. So this is like 2 levels of planning. Yeah, happens when you are in a multi-team context. One planning is you are doing among in a group where other teams are present, and another planning you are doing in your own space where you are focusing on what you should do to get things done.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like, if we're gonna, going on the safe mode, I believe the default is gonna be just 2 week, right? And just depends on if required, then we can shift
Yeah.
from 2 to
So so there are two things if you are going on SAFe. One thing is that the PI duration is 10 weeks. So it is like common planning which everybody doing together. You are
Mhm.
doing for 5 sprints, which is 10 weeks.
Sure.
When the people who are going and coming in their own team, they are doing local planning. So 2 levels of planning I'm talking about. That local planning and local inspect and adapt or cadence is 2 weeks.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is how you decide your way of working as well as way of planning. Once
Mhm.
that is done, say assuming your 10-week big PI planning meeting is done, everybody knows what they are expected to do, and there are good guidance at scaleagileFramework.com. They can tell you what should you do, how should you run a 2 days meeting if you want to take ideas from there. And
Mhm.
once that is done, people go to their teams, they start working, but things will never go as per plan. Things will, you will have a lot of surprises. So the way
Mhm.
in Scrum we do daily Scrum, after a day we want to inspect and adapt how things are going. In case of large teams, you also do a meeting or a mechanism, we call it Scrum of Scrum. So which is like this, that on a maybe twice a week or once in a week, you can decide the frequency. Scrum
Mhm.
master, or you can say representative from other all the 4 teams or 5 teams comes together and discuss how they are progressing against which they discuss during the PI planning meeting.
Okay. Yeah.
So that helps you to find out how things are, and that kind of a meeting are facilitated by release train engineer. So anybody who is doing the program management is
Mm-hmm.
primarily helping them to do a common planning meeting. Then the local scrum master who is sitting with the team is helping them to prepare and plan for the 2 weeks time, and then doing the things, and if something gets stuck at that level, he get it resolved. But if something is not working, and on a periodic basis, we do a multi-team coordination meeting. Not all 45 members are expected to be there. Selective members comes and they discuss how things are. There could be a progress discussion related to requirement and development. There could be a progress discussion towards pure requirement. So you may want to make two separate meetings. One is requirement focused meeting, or another is just generic or project management and dependency focused meeting. Or you may merge these two and call them agile release train sync, or a team sync or something, where they discuss all the possible things which are bothering them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, by doing this on a thing, at the end of a 2 weeks, every team is expected, like all the teams are expected to finish what they have planned, and they produce a small demo. And then at the end of a 2 weeks, it is also recommended that they have some mechanism to integrate output comings from all the 5 teams and have a demo at a program level. So this solves the problem of late feedback. So we, even if you are planning for 10 weeks, but the development is happening in a 2 week cycle. So development for all the 45 team members are happening in a 2 week cycle, but the broad direction is given for a 10-week window.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So you have a progress, you do a demo, this is called system demo, and then based on that, stakeholder sees it, they look at the feedback, and then you continue for 4 sprints. So you continue for 8 weeks like this, and then 9th and 10th week, in case of a safe environment, they talk about uh, is innovation and planning sprint, which is more like reflecting on how things went in the last 4 sprints and planning for upcoming 4 sprints. So the program increment closes with more design and innovation and requirement related exploration, which is needed for the upcoming PI. And it also finishes with knowledge sharing and cleaning up work for the last 4 sprints. And there is a special guidance in scaledagileFramework.com, which is called innovation and planning sprint, which is the last one.
Last one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is like overall, I'm not sure like how much will be directly relevant for you, but this is like an overall mechanism. My sense is, see, the working process are pretty much standard. It's pretty much like, okay, have a one time box of 10 weeks, which is a common time box, then have a smaller time box of 2 weeks, doing a planning, doing a continuous scrum of scrum, integrating and getting things done. Yeah. So it is pretty much clear. The challenge would be how you really group people into different teams. How do you design or mechanism for integrating the work, because there are a lot of technological related challenges will come, and how the real requirement get communicated at this circle, and what happens when the requirement gets changed during the 10 weeks. So that kind of a things you need to figure it out and come up with a strategy for your project or program. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. And so the strategy, maybe again, it can be derail the entire planning or the roadmap what we have put together, or is it like something we need to come up with some workaround on that? It again come up based on the strategy what we decide, right? Let's say there will be, because safe is something where product owner always comes back and reprioritize or bring a new change. So that's something, one of the mechanism we have to follow called change management accordingly.
Yeah. So it's like this in any agile processes, be it safe or anything. So the idea of agile process is that we want to see the product early. And when we see the product early, why are we seeing it? Because we want to understand, are we going in a right direction? And when
Mhm.
we figure it out, we are not going in a desired direction, we change. So the change is needed for customer competitive advantage, for the benefits, not just for troubling others. So that is something maturity has to be developed. And another is changes are always expensive. You have developed something and you are changing it, you are wasting, like, spending money. But that spending money is needed, because if you don't change, you end up losing more. Yeah, so that's why you take that decision. Now, in a safe framework, we do expect changes at the PI boundaries. So you do discover new things. So you don't make a plan for 6 months in advance. So what you do is you have a clarity of what we are going to do in upcoming PI, say 10 weeks. And during the 10 weeks, you product management and product owner work together to refine and come up with, okay, what should we do next 10 weeks? So it's just in time planning. Having said that, you may have a roadmap. I think there
I,
was a some. I think there was a some glitch.
yeah, yeah.
Having said that, you may need to have a roadmap. So what you are doing is you are doing just-in-time planning by way of doing, okay, in this next 10 weeks, what we are doing, and during this 10 weeks time, I am optimizing and planning for my next 10-week work. So product management, product owner are working there.
Mhm.
Now, having said that, some kind of a roadmap might be needed for the stakeholders, so they know what is going to happen in next, say, 9 months or 1 year or something like that, depending upon the environment you work in. So roadmap can be prepared, but roadmaps are prepared with uncertainties. So they are forecast, they are not commitment. So you don't commit to a 9-month work. So stakeholders should say, oh, it's a direction, and the real fine-grained direction will emerge once the PI gets over.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that was the question I was holding with me, and you just explained to me. So the other one pending question on my head was the budgetary side, right? So because being a program manager, you may be performing RTE role, but let's say you also kind of managing the budget and overall roadmap. I heard about the roadmap that it can be, you be subject to be changed with the stakeholders, and they must be aligned with that changes. But how we considering or how we tracking the budgetary part throughout the safe framework?
Yeah. So now there are two answers to it. One answer is you can keep doing what you are doing for your budget management and keep the execution style like safe. So that is something in a safe environment, what we call it. If you only implement essential safe, means which is just program and teams, you do the way you want to do budgeting. So that's a one way of doing. When you bring a portfolio mechanism of safe in your organization, then budgeting gets aligned with the way of doing safe. Now, this is something we may, the portfolio layer has multiple other adaptation thing, which is a future direction you can see. Now, what possibly we can do about the budget? There are few options. One option is that budget get aligned on a business goal basis rather than on a feature basis, or rather than, oh, these are the requirement and these requirement I want to get it done in this much time. So it is more like, okay, we want to make business out of our ERP product line, and we can invest this much money to an ERP product line to get some returns. So you may allocate that money to the teams who to the business line, and then on all PI boundaries. So every 10 weeks when you are doing PI boundaries, you validate, okay, is it going in a right direction?
Mhm.
In general, in agile world, it doesn't make much help, like it creates more impediment to the execution when we have a budget allocated to features. Okay, I have a one feature and this feature should be get done in this much money. Then you have a lot of variances and analysis getting started, whereas the philosophy should be, I have a business goal, and in
Mhm.
order to achieve that business goal, I am thinking of investing this much money,
Mhm.
and then I see periodically how it is going. So you may have something like this. I'm not sure how it will be, but something like where money get allocated to some business objective or some success criterias, and then periodically you talk to the stakeholders and see how your team are moving towards that business goal, towards that success criteria by spending money. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think you covered pretty much great outlined use case, and this sounds like I'm gonna move forward with this exact one because this will give a lot of clarity and transparencies to my team who's still like kind of in a waterfall world, and I'm trying to push them through this case study. What you just explained to me in last 30 minutes give me actually greater clarifications and the educational point of view I can present to my team, and add more kind of value towards this whole transformations what we are planning to working at this moment. So I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. And what I can recommend is you can check skilledagileframework.com to get some ideas. If you have more energy, you can also check another way of scaling. This is called Less. So there is a website called less.works, less.works. So you can also explore less.works. They both are in a little different way of scaling, but yeah, some
Oh,
ideas you may pick it from there as well. Depends because your team size might be, so there is no one solution for scaling, so there are multiple.
mhm.
You can probably also search something on disciplined agile. So there is a website and PMI supported scaling framework called disciplined agile,
Okay.
so you can also explore that. Yeah, but pretty much I think my recommendation would be start from your problem, because there are multiple frameworks solving the different type of problem in a different way. You start from your problem, you list down your challenges, and see what structure works well for your team.
I completely agree with you. Yeah, I think it does complete make sense. And yeah, I appreciate even those. I never heard about that couple of those website what you mentioned. I've been just following like SBAC and agileframework.com, some of
Mhm.
the generic websites so far. But I think this gonna a little bit, I will able to explore more in detail. So
Great. Yeah.
okay, I really appreciate again, Saket, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
Thank you. Thank you for spending time with us. Yeah.
Thank you. I really
Bye.
appreciate it. We'll definitely keep in touch.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye for now. Yeah.
Bye.